Welcome back to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo, North America's largest EV festival, coming to a major city near you. All right, joining me today, calling in from Montana, beautiful place in the country, Dakota Schuetz. He is known for scootering. I mean, all things two-wheel, from electric to foot-powered and all that. Now, dude, I was looking at your Instagram and some of your videos and tricks. I mean, you make it look bonkers. But obviously, we're on here because you're a four-time electric scooter world champion. And people are like, electric scooter, what? And I loved what you said about electrification and the scooters, where you can kind of put that into different markets where you can't put cars, you can't put motorcycles, you can't put much, but you can put racing electric scooters. So elaborate to somebody that's like, what? Electric racing scooters? What's the sanctioning body? Where are you racing? How many stops? And how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, so a little bit of background about me. I'm four-time world champion in freestyle scooters, so it's basically riding skate parks all around the world. And then 2017, 18, I got pretty involved in electric scootering because I was trying to find something that was taking my background in freestyle scootering and kind of could use all my knowledge in manufacturing and tricks and all the things that I learned over the last decade and implement it in a way that could build and help a lot of people have a lot of fun. And I think that's what electric scooters are really pushing right now. So right now we're working with the Federation of Micromobility. We have many races around the world that are kind of like local championships, which are managed by other local people. So it could be like a Spanish race is ran by a Spanish organization, but sanctioned by the Federation, or say maybe in the future, Electrify will have races all around America, which we could sanction. Our main race we focus on is the Dubai World Cup. So we invite 20 to 30 of the best riders in the world on our scooters, our design track, and we race for a couple days, and it's pretty amazing, and is amazing for the city and also the riders.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And I mean, talk about the specs of these scooters that you're actually racing. I mean, full aero, like, I mean, the whole build of the actual scooters is really impressive. I mean, it's not just a Lime scooter, it's not a Bird. It's a race scooter.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest problem when I got into electric scooters, was the background I have in designing freestyle scooters. Like, I don't know, designed most of the better scooters and freestyle scootering from the ground up, tweaking, making better geometry, because once you can understand what it should feel like and how you want it to perform, everything else you ride is just junk, no matter if it's fast or light or carbon fiber. So when I came into electric scootering, everything was junk. Like, everything I touched just didn't feel good. So it took us maybe, I would say, 1 to 1.5 years of trial and error, designing it with different people, different geometry, finally to have a very well working product. And then as EV technology is advancing very fast, there's so much better technology in batteries, in controllers, in motors. And so the last 2 years or so, we've got much better batteries that last multiple races. Instead of 15 minutes, you have to charge it and then come back with dry ice and cool it and all this stuff. Now we can run 3 or 4 races back to back and it doesn't overheat. And so just things like that shows you how fast the technology's developing. I think we're right now around 6,000 to 7,000 watts per wheel. I could be a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure that's about the metric we've been running. They can get up higher, but to have acceleration where you're not spinning out every corner, that's about what you'd want.
Yeah, because that makes sense. Because it is so light, and if you have too much power, you're just the scooter's ripping underneath you, and you're not getting traction. So it's finding that perfect balance, right? I mean, you guys are full leathers, full helmets. I mean, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we have, obviously we can change everything in the controller. So even if you have crazy amount of power, you can say ride 40% power in the front, 100% in the rear, switch your tires, switch your tire pressure. So there's a lot of things we can change, or the mechanics can alter according to the rider. But the scooter, it's amazingly like versatile because you can kind of turn it around wherever direction you want because of the perfect geometry. We have around a 68% lean angle, meaning like if this is 100%, we can lean
Yeah.
almost all the way sideways. So I think it's more than impressive what we pulled off. And when anybody comes from motorcycle background or even just a freestyle scooter background, they get on it, they feel comfortable, it feels safe. And not
Yeah.
like I have almost bought or ridden every good scooter in electric world, and I've
Hmm.
never to this day been feeling like I'm safe. Maybe the
Yeah.
racing scooter is something where I could go cruise at 40 miles an hour and I can go one-handed and be okay.
That, I mean, it's and it is a spec class, correct? Like everybody's running the same scooter across the field.
Yeah, so it's basically the riders come in and they're hired or invited by a team that owns two or three scooters. And then those scooters are given to them by the federation, which they're leasing from the federation. So they're all
Mhm.
spec scooters, which you can alter the bar height, the ride height. You can alter tire pressures, tire compound. So there is a
Ooh.
little bit of differences, but the only reason it's running that way is because no other manufacturer is putting the kind of their foot forward to develop the technology that we have. Eventually it will follow, but it needs somebody to push it like that to do that.
And you keep saying we, you work directly with the organization development, and you talk about putting their foot forward. What are the parallels between, innovation and technology between scooter and just EV transportation evolution? Because I feel like it's you start here with this little petri dish of no offense, it's a scooter, but then
Yeah.
I think there's something that is paralleled between cars and EV technology and all that. Like you said, batteries are getting better. So I guess a couple questions here is what's the parallels there and what's next for these scooters?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, since around 2008, I've worked in China manufacturing different things like coming from scooters or sports equipment, and scooters has always transcended a scooter. Like the design we figure out in a scooter goes to a bike or goes to a electric scooter or goes to something that uses either the geometry or how it works or the materials we use. Because for example, in freestyle scootering, a lot of the things that are now used in mountain bikes probably came from the reasons we needed a tiny little scooter to become stronger, like
Mm-hmm.
fluting or different series of aluminum. Or so people that push their sports usually push the technology much faster than a bigger car manufacturer, because like a car manufacturer never needs the reason to have like, I don't know, fluting or random 3D printing to make something stronger or lighter.
Yeah.
But then when they see a sport doing it at such a smaller scale than they can do it, they're like, oh, that looks pretty nice. And they're also pretty into such smaller vehicles, because when a EV company looks at a scooter industry that's selling, I don't know, a few or 5, 10, 20 million scooters a year, that's still a big number compared to the car sales they can do in that region. So
Right.
sometimes that's a better entry to a sector or a country than a entire car.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your feed. I wasn't ignoring you. I'm listening to everything you're saying. I'm actually pulling up your Instagram. You're a big watch guy too. Nice,
Yeah, I like watches.
nice Patek there, buddy.
Thanks.
Nice. But it looks like and are you still freestyle scootering? Like, are you
Yeah,
still
I mean, I
active
don't
on
do it
that?
so much. I basically rode competitively till like 2019,
Hmm.
and then I just got a little bit tired of the repetitive competitions because I was training so advanced and practicing so much different than everybody else that it wasn't like the tricks I was doing was so crazily better than everybody. It's just I could put it together better so that my competition runs were very well thought out. And
Mm.
it was like when I entered, it was kind of like I was just waiting for the day to be over because I knew most likely I could win. So it wasn't like there was no, it was just me competing with myself. And at that point, me and my brother took over a lot of the scooter competitions, and we started managing those and helping the new riders find sponsors and stuff like that. Because for me, scootering in any form is like a baby that I was like helped to raise since I got into it in like 2007. And it's cool that electric scooters is just an iteration of what I've already done. It's like I get to do the exact same thing I did in freestyle scootering, like build the scooters, build the sport, all the things you need to do. It's like I already learned all the things I need to do it again. And so that's
Yeah.
one of the coolest things.
It's like you've evolved with the scooter. The scooter's evolved with you. It's like you're synonymous with that. That's so cool. And you talk about, developing and being part of the series. You're like a philanthropic effort in the scooter world, and talk about that too, because you really engage the youth, education. What are you doing there?
Yes, I mean, in the freestyle side, we do many training camps around the world, whether that be for the best athletes in the world or even beginning riders. And that's helped a lot of the top riders become the world champions or world class riders they are today. I'm looking to do the same in electric scooter. Obviously, we need to start building the sport in each country, because right now it's at a stage where there's really big world events that we
Mhm.
manage, but the grassroots part is missing. So we're focusing now to implement local championships with cheaper racing scooters we designed. And that will help grow the sport much faster than us just keep racing around the world like Formula One.
Yeah, and I'm seeing again. I talk about your watches. I mean, you have a really dynamic background, man. You're faith based, but you have a cafe in China, the Dakota
Yep.
Cafe. What is this, dude?
Yeah, I opened it last April. I've been doing a lot of stuff in China most of my life, and I like the Chinese market because it's such a different thing, and they really love any interesting idea. And I always liked painting and making just interesting stuff, and so I had opportunity to go there, and I built that cafe. It seats like 85 people. I have all my art in there. We have mini basketball court, small skate park in the back. So I'm going to probably start franchising that model soon around Asia. But I just like
Yeah.
Asia. It's such a different market, and many people from the Western world don't go there to try to target it.
Right. It's so cool. And again, your Instagram is Kota, Kota. And yeah, just looking at this super diverse. Like I said, this basketball. Yeah, you could. I mean, this would do well in the States, but yeah, I'm seeing this in Singapore and Southeast Asia. Like that would be absolutely a perfect fit. What else are you working on? You talk about your artwork. Dude, you look at like building sculptures and stuff. Like
Yeah, I
so
do. I
dynamic.
mean, I always liked painting and stuff as a hobby just since I was a kid.
Hmm.
And in my free time the last couple of years, I took it pretty seriously and went hardcore, and now they're in a lot of galleries around the world. I don't really do it at all to sell them, but people love the style that it's doing, and lets me keep exploring what's possible with art. And it's like I got pretty good at painting my style, and then I moved to trying to do sculptures, and then now I'm working with wood sculptures, and then once I master that, I'll probably move to something else. So I'm not just like repeating the same process. But a lot of things I do now is I'm build skate parks mostly in the Middle East for the government.
Oh
So
wow.
I'll go design them, we'll build them, and then hold events every year at these skate parks. Right now, I'm finishing one in Sharjah, which is like an emirate above Dubai, and that should be a pretty cool project because that region is trying to really push sports in terms of the youth. So I think that will do really well. Another company I started 2018, 19 was the first legal legal company in UAE. So for rental scooters.
Oh wow.
So before, Bird and Lime and all these companies went there illegally and just put their scooters there and just hoped that the government would give them a license, and they said no, and they kicked them all out. And so
Really?
I was the first person to come try to do it the right way, and it took a long time. Like took probably a year and a half of
Mhm.
all government meetings, getting the right rules passed, because it's not like a scooter is in all these regulations of the road safety programs. So that took a long time, but around 2019, 2020, we got the license and still operating that. It's called Explore. And so that's just based in UAE.
And that's crazy. Just thinking about, I mean, I've been to Dubai, I've been to Abu Dhabi, and it gets hot there. And I mean, the scooters are year round. They're out there in full micromobility.
We sometimes, if it gets seriously hot for a week, we'll take them off the road, but most likely we leave them out, and they're usually, if it's parked at a hotel or something, there's a sunshade, so it can't really get too hot. But it's an awesome business model if you have exclusive markets that nobody else can touch.
Yeah, like, do you have any intention of bringing that to the States, or it's just a flooded market? It's like opening a taco shop in Los Angeles. Do you really do that? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, main markets I focus on is places I can get exclusivity, or places I can sign a community or hotel that's exclusive to my brand only. So if I can do that anywhere, it's an option. But right now, Middle East seems to be the most civil place where nobody steals them or trashes them or things like that.
Right.
Like Lime, for example, I think they have like a 70 to 75% theft or vandalism rate, and I have maybe 0.1%. So
Yeah, I mean, shoot, when birds came out, they were everywhere, and people throwing them in lakes, and I mean, it was very intrusive into certain markets, right? The scooters just end up on your front door, and it wasn't great. Are your scooters that you're operating, is there technology that applies from the race scooters to yours, or are you just doing kind of a takedown version, or is it kind of more industrial? Or
this was started before the racing scooters, so it's completely separate. So it's just normal model of rental scooters, nice, safe product that works, and we have built our own app. And but what's amazing is seeing what I got to do in freestyle scootering, where every scooter rider, it was illegal to ride at a skate park because they didn't have us on the insurance. It's like the same thing I'm seeing in e-scooters, that the road safety programs don't have the same thing. So it's not like I know how to solve the problem, but I've seen the same problem in a similar environment. So it's interesting to maneuver the path and eventually get to a solution for all these cities.
What's your take on just EV vehicles in general? What do you drive when you're here in the States? Sounds like you're in Asia more than anywhere. But what's your take on EV? I mean, it seems like you're pretty, for lack of a better term, fashion forward and forward thinking.
I like the technology of electric. I like the ease of service. So, for example, if you're a person that's going point A to point B and you don't know nothing about cars, your service is maybe you change the brakes once in your life. I don't think that's a great thing for car manufacturers for the service costs, but in terms of the consumer, I think it's a pretty awesome product. But in America, I've never bought an electric car just because I'm not the person that needs one. I appreciate what they are. I like the e-tron, the Taycan, all those crazy fast electric ones. I was looking to buy it's HiFi. You ever heard that brand?
That's in China.
Look it up. It's only in China, and it's like a 600 horsepower sedan. It looks like it's from Tony Stark. It's pretty awesome. But places like China and I guess America too, where you can actually use the chargers and it would work. But for example, Europe, it might be a little bit harder because their power grid just doesn't sustain it. So I guess it depends on your market. But in America, my dad, me and my brother, we build a lot of classic and kind of crazy or modified cars. I've never got into the electric cars, but we stick to cars in general.
No, it's yeah. I mean, just the more we kind of peel back the layers here of Coda, I'm wildly intrigued. What do you guys build, like hot rods and stuff, and trucks and cars?
It depends. Right now I've been collecting 240Zs, Datsuns from like the 70s.
Yep.
Some older 70s Porsches, 80s SLs, some like older American trucks, 190E Mercedes, like stuff like that. That's fun to drive and is just easily to modify. And my dad is retired and he's got all our cars up here to just restore for the rest of his life. So he's living the dream.
That's so cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know if you see my hat. I announced the Formula Drift Series. So I just came back from New Jersey, and Chris Forsberg has his car called the Gold Leader. It's a RB powered Datsun Z. I think
Okay.
you'd like that
Yep.
thing. Yeah, it's pretty
I
sick.
think he has a 280Z. I've seen.
Yep, exactly. What are some future trends like emerging for you that you're excited about? Either you're kind of like, oh, that would be sick on our electric scooters, or something else, or like what are some exciting things that you see that you could maybe share and drop a secret on us, that for anybody listening?
Yeah, I mean, future trends, it's usually going to come from somebody that's spending a lot of money, which is Formula One or um, I guess any luxury fashion brand. I think the best would be car manufacturers coming into e-scooter racing or e-bike racing, because
Hmm,
there's so much technology they can test in a small format. Like they could test
interesting.
controllers, they can test batteries, they can test carbon fiber options or aero or many things. So I think there's many capabilities in what a EV manufacturer can test in a small vehicle, because that's why Formula E kind of exists. That's why Formula One does so well, is because every manufacturer wants to either promote or test new technology that eventually trickles down slowly into their vehicle.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, again, the scooter, super cool. I'm looking at this you're on a board here, Future Mobility Hub. So do you have teammates? Is it single team, like when it comes to the e-scooter race? And again, you focus on Dubai, but the series and everything you're doing, like, what other stops or markets are you in?
Yeah. So this Extreme World Cup series is focused on probably the Middle East for the next year or so. We'll announce new dates soon, but you'll see around the Middle East some key races that are going to be in nice locations with amazing track designs and spectacles in terms of what you get to see when you're racing. So that's going to be pretty cool. But the scooter in general is just insane. Like full carbon monocoque chassis. We have everything that you could ever imagine, fans and boost buttons and all just crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect on a scooter. But if you were riding a MotoGP bike and you got on the scooter, you're like, oh, that seems normal. So that's kind of the cool thing. It's almost getting in the same realm of extreme racing.
Yeah, and what's really cool about the field is very diverse. Females, different nationalities. Obviously, it's probably incentive to be a smaller framed, person. Obviously, like, because that's the power to weight ratio there. I'm big boy. I'm 6'4", 265. So I don't think I'm winning any races. I always say I'm Bowser in Mario Kart. So I'm not winning any races, dude. But how can one like again, sports car racing, right? You start kind of either it be SCCA or something like that, or Grid Life or something like that, and then you see this ladder of racing, right? Formula 3, like Leah Block's doing, or something like that. What's the ladder of getting involved in your series and your racing? How
Yeah.
would you
So
recommend somebody listening to this? They're like, I think I could do that.
right now, as I said before, there's a major need for local championships. So we have the top tier, like the Formula Drift, pretty well figured out in
Yep.
terms of we've invited the best riders and we've got a good pool of really talented people. But finding new talent is the next hurdle, because there's not enough local championships. I mean, it's only brand new, so it's not like we're behind, but I think it's
Yeah.
just something that slowly will be implemented as local championships, where these racers can qualify for the regional event. From the regional event, you would qualify to the World Cups that we have around the world. So I think it's just maybe 6 months, a year out, we'll have these local championships solidified and handled in terms of where people can race, what you can race. But we already designed extreme grassroots scooter that's very cost effective, and people can either buy it for the local championship or you can lease it per weekend. So you just show up, pay whatever the fee is, race for the weekend. So I think that's the difference in e-scooter racing and I guess micromobility racing, is the cost of entry is so low. Like imagine if I wanted to go drifting. Like first I got to build a $60,000 or $100,000 drift car, then I got to get a trailer, then I got to get a truck. This is just like show up on the weekend, truck, like bring your scooter in the back of your truck or rent the scooter at the track, and
Yeah.
it's the cost of entry is just so low.
Oh, I mean, again, Electrify Expo, if for those listening, ERL, Electrify Racing League, either one wheel or the skateboards. I mean, it's racing, again, when did they start racing cars? When they built two, right? So here's fun racing that is, like you say, absolutely access to entry is, race for the week. Oh, it's so cool. And again, I know you just got off a call with the bosses over there at Electrify Expo. I mean, be really convenient to have scooters at the Electrify Racing League, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think they did a great job, and I got to go to the Long Beach. I just landed in America, and I went to Long Beach with my brother and saw how cool Electrify Expo was. And it was funny because a lot of people I worked with before in freestyle scootering were there because their companies got involved with e-scooters or e-bikes. So it's like a lot of people were transitioning into that field anyways. But I was surprised with how many people were there, and also the scale of the track they made for e-skateboards. But the thing that the Federation has done well is designed with safety in mind. So every barrier that is designed for the track can be hit around 150 kilometers, so like 90 miles an hour, and it will only go 6 feet. So
Okay.
you can have fans within a 10 to 12 foot radius of the track. And like that's unheard of any other racing
Right.
series.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Safety is key. But yeah, my son actually announces. He was out there announcing, so that was my son calling the action.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, he's 17 years old, so I'm super excited for him. What you talk about Electrify Expo? What was something that stood out in your mind? You're like, oh, that could help work, or just something you're excited about going to the expo. As a young adult, seems like again you're I'll say it again, fashion forward, early adopter. Competitive, fashionable, looking at your feed, just what was something you were excited about Electrify Expo?
I thought it was amazing how many people were there. I didn't really look it up before. I just knew that it was happening. So
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed with how many people were physically interested in electric mobility. I mean, it's not like I didn't think it was popular, but it just kind of was eye opening that so many people were interested in e-bikes, e-scooters, I guess just EV cars. And it also was amazing to me because every day I walk around and I'm like, how are all of these people affording all of these things? I still don't know. But every e-bike there is like 3,000 to 10 to $20,000. So there's 30,000 people that are coming that are interested in these products. So if you're a manufacturer, seeing how many people are actually there looking at spending that kind of money, it's very impressive for the high cost of entry for such a product.
Yeah, that's you're a businessman. I obviously we're getting down to that as far as because where are you originally from?
I was born in Michigan, but I grew up in California.
Okay, whereabouts? Like southern, northern?
In like San Juan Capistrano, like Orange
Okay.
County, most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in Riverside, California. So,
Yeah.
what again, man, I'm looking at just like old footage of you in 2012, dude. And like this is your scooter stuff. What is there anything else you kind of want to plug? I mean, obviously it seems like you got your hands in many different things, again, from your Coda Cafe, your fashion, your watches, obviously being a 4-time champ that comes with, you got almost over 500,000 followers on Instagram. Anything else you want to plug?
Not really. I'm just happy that people are interested in stuff I like to do. And I think with Electrify, we'll find some good synergies and partnerships to bring more affordable and accessible racing around the world, because I see that Electrify scenario working everywhere else that I go. I think
Yeah.
it can work in Dubai. I think it can work in Saudi, and it can work in many other markets that is very new to electric technology. Because, for example, in UAE, they just maybe 1 year ago, they finally made scooter lanes. And then after they did that, they made a giant push to make scooter licenses, scooter insurance, e-bike
Really?
insurance, like all these things that weren't even a thought 5 years ago. They're already thinking for the next 10 years of how do we make our emirate or our country the most accessible place in the world.
Like I said, it's really, really impressive, man. So, on Instagram probably is the best way to check you out. KOTA, obviously for Dakota Schuetz, but Coda. Simply, it's really impressive to talk to you, man. Again, the stage is yours. Seems like you are just innovating, and it's really, really impressive, man. So thank you for your contributions to the world, man. It seems that, not just the States, but I'm eager to see what and when you're going to apply that here to the States.
Yeah, I mean, with the initial talks we've had with Electrify and some other American businesses, I think it will come to America pretty soon in a big way. And the hardest part about America is it's so big. It's not
Yeah.
like when we go to England, like I just have to target 2 cities. Like we have to target a 3,000-mile radius with different business organizations or insurance and so many different legal things that you have to figure out. So it's a little bit bigger of a hurdle, but I think once we figure it out, it will be gigantic because the American market in terms of EV is probably one of the biggest in the world with spending power. So I think when it's targeted correctly, there's a lot of benefits for manufacturers to sponsor it and also be behind it with their technology.
Yeah, it's impressive. Speaking of impressive, who's innovating on the freestyle scooter side? Because I mean, I one person comes to my mind, but who are you like? Holy cow! Like the innovation of tricks and just the evolution. Obviously resin mats and then airbag. Landing ramp. All that stuff. Who's innovating in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's in scootering, you have 2 different things. You have like skate park competition riders, or for example, you're probably thinking of Brian Williams, which is like 100%
Yeah.
riding extreme big ramps, which he's the best at by far. And I think for that reason, he is competing with himself. Like there's
Yeah.
nobody he can compete with anymore. So I think it's cool. And he's helped push the sport in a whole different way, as well as BMX, because any trick that he learned on a scooter, he pushed it towards BMX, and that furthered BMX's future much better because like we were talking about technology from a scooter that trickled down into many bigger scale operations. The same with tricks. Like tricks that were invented on a freestyle scooter probably got into BMX, got into another sport, mountain biking, all these things that they weren't even thinking of just because a couple kids on a tiny scooter flipped it around in a certain way. And they're like, that makes sense. So I think that's one cool thing about scootering in general is it's just so accessible and so easy for people to get involved with that it really brings a lot of creativity out of people.
Sorry, I was about to wrap up the podcast, but here we open kind of another can of worms here. But do you think there's pardon my ignorance here, as far as electric scooters, are there electric scooter freestyle competitions in parks, or is it still just push?
So freestyle scootering is just push scooters. I've thought about making electric assist, but it's too heavy in any sense of the fashion. Like for example, a freestyle scooter probably weighs anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds maximum.
Yeah.
And so if you add a motor to that, it's going to be too heavy. But I think there's going to be in the next probably 1 to 2 years, we'll probably develop something we can ride with jumps. So for example, take the racing monocoque chassis, add full suspension, a little bit stronger parts so we can kind of be mini supercross because there's no reason all of us can't do the same. It's just going to have to change the vehicle a little bit. But I think that's where it's going in terms of could be trials bike riding or whatever you want to call it. Things like that. I think you can implement it in so many different ways because the platform is so versatile. And that's what I like the most about it.
Yeah, and that's again, this development. You're like, what? Like, again, go ahead and open that can of worms right out of the gate. As far as electric scooter racing, really, this is a thing. So anybody listening to this, what that just stumbles across it and wants to know more about you and electric scooters, and again, R. Willies, who we're talking about. If you want to follow him on Instagram, I mean, just the stuff he's doing is mind blowing. Like that bike flip, like. I don't even know. He's like named,
and his compound in Australia is pretty awesome.
And he's a sweetheart of a dude too.
Yeah,
like he's for a long time. Yeah, and I saw him out in Las Vegas at Nitro Cross because I announced Nitro Cross as well, and just he's homies with Ricky Melnick and helped him move out to Vegas and stuff. So it's name dropping here, but there's cross pollination here, and that's what's cool about it. Is I could see that scooter racing at Electrify Expo, could see it at Nitro Cross, because it's more about, again, early adopters. I'm sure you got the iPhone when it first came out. You're kind of one of those dudes that it seems that you're forging new ground. I'm eager to see what you have coming out in the next year, working with Electrify Expo and electrification and what you got cooking, man. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I think got a lot done and lots to do in the future.
Yeah, dude, you're a busy guy, but enjoy Montana, enjoy seeing your parents, and enjoy being home here in the States. But where are you traveling to next, and when?
I'll probably go to Europe in like a week or so, and then I'm
Okay.
usually there for the summer, and then I usually live in Dubai most of the time when it's not hot, so I'll be there most of the fall.
Awesome. Well, have to come visit you. I think we're talking about doing something in the Middle East. We drifted at Abu Dhabi, just like 15 years ago or something like that. So we'll have to come check you out. So again, be sure to check out Kota, Kota. Go to the Kota Cafe in China. Watch the scooter racing. And again, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Look forward to doing it again.
All right, man. Peace. Thanks for listening to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo. Be sure to catch full video episodes on YouTube at Electrify TV and follow along on social media for daily clips and more.